Happy Monday. I think we'll start on our back tonight. So nice to see you guys. We'll just find our way to the floor mat. Let your body center here. Think about not just how you can relax in the physicality of the body, but how you can relax the nervous system, how you can relax your breath. How things can get just a little bit more at ease here. There's this little boy who is propped up underneath the covers with a flashlight and a book. And he is not enjoying himself. This is not someone staying up to read because they're enthralled by the story. This is someone trying to get through homework that they don't want to do, but still doing it. So just slowly finding that ability to relax in your back here. Really drifting into the tail end of those exhales. So that end of exhale sensation is really a landing. Bringing the knees into a bent position if they're not already there. Let's inhale and lift the belt line up into a nice little bridge. So think about getting that torso to thigh union neutral. Uh, Releasing your way back down. Inhale and lifting. At this neutral torso to thigh interchange, make sure the glutes are engaged so the lumbar is protected. And then exhale and releasing down. Let's just do that a couple more times, just lifting up to a neutral line and releasing down. And then we'll pull both thighs in towards the torso. Give yourself a nice little squeeze here. Take the left hand over to the right thigh or shin and extend that left leg. Let the left heel hover here just an inch or so off the ground. They have a lot of activation, probably some activation in the glutes still to keep the lumbar protected. That left quad is really active. And then we're using a little bit of arm strength to keep that compression on the right side. And then we'll retract the left leg. Bring the left hand back to its side and just give yourself a nice little equal equivalent squeeze left to right. Right hand comes over to the left shin, right leg extends. That right heel hovers just an inch or so off the ground. Again, we have a little bit of arm strength, a lot of right quad activity, some glute activity to keep the low back protected. And then we'll retract that right leg. Right hand comes to the right side of the body, and we give ourselves that equivalent little squeeze. This time, maybe you take the thighs out a little bit wider. So we get a little opening down that medial line into that hip musculature or abductor hip musculature. And then we'll squeeze with a little bit of hand pressure the thighs together. So toes come together, calves come together, thighs together. Hands can give a little pressure here as well. Release the feet back down to the mat, and we're going to come back up into a bridge. You get into this neutral alignment. Think about the glute squeeze. Really important that we have the glute squeeze this time. And then we're going to offer just a little bit of lateral sway. So we work towards that lateral edge range. Think about keeping the shoulders anchored. This is a nice way to interact with this oblique musculature. Maybe one more time in each direction. And then we'll release our way back down. Flip the knees fall to one side or the other, whatever side feels most ideal for you. And we'll press ourselves up into hands and knees tabletop. From tabletop, let's lay the fingers out, get that good strong hand connection, curl your toes, lift your seat, and find your way into down dog. Get the hips back here. Really drive your energy all the way into the back half of this shape. Think about elongating and lifting into the tailbone. And then let's come down to hands and knees, flip the tops of the feet, and sink your way back into child's pose. So we've worked a lot of this anterior hip crease already. We've really tried to create some space here with that thigh to torso compression. Really think about driving the weight back into the sacrum. Suck in with the way you're respirating here. Make sure that our respiration is both impactful and positively impactful. Fingertips grip into the mat in front of us. We'll pull our way forward to hands and knees tabletop. From hands and knees tabletop, curl your toes, lift your seat, and find your way back into down dog. Get that weight shift back into your hips. Think about the pressure in the hands, allowing that to happen. Remember that the knees can bend here to create more space. And then let's walk our way forward into fold. We'll inhale into half lift. And exhale our way back into fold. Settle into that fold, release into your fold. And then let's shift our awareness to our sacrum and we'll roll our way up vertebrae by vertebrae. Eventually making our way to mountain. Putting the hands together, heart center. Settling into that equilibrium left and right weight distribution. And let's slide our left foot straight back and into lunge. Hands stay at heart center here. Really think about the anterior posterior neutrality, but smoothing your way into the depth of this shape. So using this anterior hip space to get forward without bowing the torso. Torso stays neutral, shift the position forward. And then we'll step the left foot back to mountain. Make sure we redistribute our weight. Make sure we fully balance into this shape. And then we do the same thing to the second side. The right foot slides straight back. That right foot lands. We ensure that we have the torso positioning appropriately set up. And then we just smooth our way into the shape. We're using the anterior hip crease. Really, we're using the right side this time, but we're smoothing into that shape without losing the posture in the upper body. And then we'll step the right foot forward and into mountain. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And then sweep the arms behind you. Interlace the fingers here. Lift the chin, gaze towards the ceiling or sky. Sweep the arms back up and overhead and exhale through forward fold. Inhale your way into half lift. Get that nice, flat, neutral spinal column. And then drift back into your full version of fold. We'll slide the right foot straight back into lunge. Keep that right hand planted directly underneath the right shoulder and take the left hand up into a nice little twist. Good full rotation of the lumbar spine here. Think about using that hip space that we've already created this early into class. Left hand comes back down to the mat. Step the right foot forward into fold. Inhale into half lift. Get that neutral, flat spine. And exhale back into your fold. Left foot slides straight back. Left hand plants underneath the shoulder. We maintain that awareness. The right hand comes up and into the twist. We're rolling at the lumbar here, smoothing into the hips. Keep that left quad active so there's no bend in the left knee. Right hand comes back down to the mat. We'll step the left foot forward. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Plant your hands. We'll walk our way into down dog. Make sure you get the weight to shift back into your down dog shape. Shift your weight forward to plank. Your choice, stay in plank or drop through a little chaturanga. We'll meet back in plank. Drop the knees and sink back into child's pose. A lot of movement, a lot of hip kind of focus. But think about how the middle of the back is responding along that thoracic shelf. Use both the inhale and exhale side of your breath to really interplay with the middle of the spine here, where the lumbar and rib cage meet. And so this little boy is just struggling to get through a sentence, let alone a full page. And to this day, he doesn't know why he did it. But he looks up at the page. He's in the middle of this chapter he needs to read for class. It's page 167. And he just ripped the bottom half off. And it looks better. It looks shorter. It looks easier. And mindlessly, while he's reading the top half of the page that still exists, he starts chewing on the corner of the page that he tore off, or the bottom of the page that he tore off. We'll inhale and pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. And from tabletop, let's curl our toes, lift our seat, and find our way back into down dog. Drive the weight back into your hips. Let's step our right foot forward into lunge. Now, we should have some depth in this lunge, right? We're pretty low to the ground. Drive your energy back into your left heel. Make sure there's no bend in that left leg. Sweep yourself up and into crescent. Maybe lift the gaze. Float the hands back down to the mat. Step the right foot back into plank. Your choice, stay right here. We'll work through a little chaturanga. We'll meet our way back in plank and then lift our seat into down dog. When it feels appropriate for you and you have the weight where you want it, the left foot's going to slide forward. Same thing. We're nice and low. We want energy back in that right heel through that right calf. No bend in the right knee. Sweep yourself up and into crescent. Find that nice verticality, neutral anterior, posterior torso. Put the hands back down to the mat. We'll slide the left foot back again. Your choice. You could stay right here, work through a little chaturanga. We'll meet back in plank and lift our seat into down dog. Maybe a little wiggle through the tailbone here. And we'll walk our way forward and into fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum, and we'll roll our way up vertebrae by vertebrae. Eventually coming to mountain. Bring your hands together, heart center. And just slowing down the rate of respiration. Thinking about finding that homeostasis in mountain, the ease and fluidity of breath, that softness of our circulatory system. When you feel balanced, when your body feels ready, let's slide our left foot straight back into lunge. Take the hands to the hips. And now really think about the stability here. So we want nice forward, backward stability. We want lateral stability. We want to be anchored here. And then keep this hip line, belt line, hip girdle on a rail and ground the left heel. So the hips don't move at all. We keep that nice vertical torso and then smooth your way forward into this shape. Now, you may not get as deep as you did in lunge, but we're just smoothing our way forward without compromising the spine, staying neutral. And then bring the left heel back up. We should have a little more space. You should feel a little more spacious, and we'll step forward. And inhale the hands to heart center. Play in that asymmetry now. Left and right leg are different. Play in that. Find your way back to balance. Find your way back to that respiratory neutrality, circulatory neutrality. And then we'll do the same thing to the second side. Right foot's going to slide straight back. We're going to bring our hands to our hips. We're going to find that ability to be stable, that ability to really be rooted here. Put the belt line girdle on a rail and then ground your right heel. We think about staying neutral here. We hug back in that anterior left hip crease, and we just move the shape forward, not the middle of the body. The shape moves forward. And that creates spaciousness down that kind of lateral edge of the right hip. Then we'll spin that right heel up. Feel that spaciousness, and we'll step forward. And inhale the hands together, heart center. Feel that hip space. Think about kind of how that hip space feels in the body, and then drop your hands from heart center to behind you. If interlace doesn't work, and I didn't say this the first time, but if interlace doesn't work, hands can just go against the glutes or the sacrum. This time we're going to push the thumbs down so that we get a little bit of tricep activation. So there's a pressure down. We don't lose that anterior posterior neutrality. And then without tilting the torso, we're just going to try to peel the hands just slightly away from the glutes. And then relax back to the glutes and lift your chin. And we want to feel this anterior throat space. So we're really lifting that chin. You can push the bottom jaw forward if that feels advantageous for you. And then we'll bring the head back to neutral. We're going to once again push those thumbs down. So we create that tricep activation and then just a little lift away from the body. Relax, chin lifts one more time. Remember, you want to be able to breathe here. Relax the head back to neutral. Bring your hands back to heart center. Feel that shoulder space. Now you feel like the shoulders relax, the hips relax, and we just have this space in our body. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through forward fold. Inhale to half lift. Exhale back to fold. Plant your hands and we'll walk our way back into down dog. Think about having a little bit of time here in this down dog. Use this time to create length, to create space, to create spaciousness in your breath. Let's come down to hands and knees tabletop. We'll flip the tops of the feet and sink our way back into child's pose. Once again, the focus on the engines of the body, right? So we have the engines that allow us to manipulate things in the world, our shoulders, and the engines that allow us to transverse the world, our hips. But as you sink back into child's pose, think about that space right between the shoulders and the hips, right at that thoracic joint. Think about how the middle of the back can relax. And so by the time that this little boy finishes reading the top half of the page, he's chewed up the entirety of the bottom half. But something even stranger than eating half of a book page happens to him. He realizes when he gets to the end of the first page, he knows everything on the second half. Not like he glanced at it and he knows what happens. He knows every line, he knows every bit of punctuation. Something about eating this half a page has internalized the information within him. Give yourself just 20 more seconds here. And then when it feels appropriate for you, put the hands press into the mat in front of you. We'll pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. We'll curl our toes, lift our seat, and find our way into down dog. From down dog, let's send our right foot straight forward and into lunge. Now we're low and we're engaged here. Ground your left heel. Slide back into your right hamstring. So we start to straighten out that right leg. That does not mean that the right leg needs to be straight. It just means we're straightening into it. Bend your right knee. Spin your left heel up and sweep your way into crescent. Think about that anterior posterior neutrality. Bring the hands to your hips and ground your left heel. And slide back into that right hamstring. Now, as you're sliding back into that right hamstring, pay attention to what's going on in the toes. It's super easy to start to grip those toes into like little hooves. Really think about spacing them out instead. And again, the right leg is straightening. It doesn't need to be straight. And then we're going to tilt our torso forward. And then bring the torso back up and spin the left heel up and sweep the arms to crescent before we float the hands back down to the mat. Ground the left heel and slide back into the right hamstring. Now, in theory, we have a little bit more space on that right side this time through. See if you can feel that. See if you can be a little bit more at ease within your breath. And we'll spin the left heel up and step the right foot back into down dog. Now we should have some asymmetry here. So let's experience that. Get the weight back into hips. Drive that energy back. And then we'll step the left foot forward into lunge. Think about that spaciousness here. Ground your right heel, slide back into your left hamstring. So we're straightening that left leg. Doesn't need to be straight, but we're straightening into it. And then we'll bend that front knee, spin your right heel up, sweep your way up into crescent. Nice vertical anterior, posterior torso. Hands come to the hips, right heel grounds. We slide back into that left hamstring. We think about splaying the toes out wide there. And then we tilt our torso forward. Nice long spine here. Good vertical extension, horizontal extension, but vertical if we were upright. Elongation of the spinal column, better way to think of that. And then we'll bring our torso back up. Spin the right heel up. Bring the hands to heart center. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And float the hands down to the mat. Slide back into your left hamstring. In theory, we have ground your right heel and then slide back to that left hamstring. In theory, we should have a little bit more length here, a little bit more space here. Slow down your rate of respiration so you can experience the space. And then we'll spin that right heel up, step our left foot back. And we should have some nice length to settle the down dog into. Really express the hamstrings here. Think about pushing back into the heels to get that hamstring activation. And then we'll come down to hands and knees tabletop, flip the tops of the feet, and sink back into child's pose. That's a big, long hamstring sequence there. Make sure hamstrings can be a weak point for a lot of us, right? And so we start challenging a weak point, and our nervous system starts to fire up, and our respiration starts to fire up. Make sure you can dial that back down. Make sure that you're fully in control and aware of your rate of respiration. And then it's just getting easier and easier for you to breathe as you get more and more relaxed into the shape. And so this little boy thinks, what the heck? He rips out the next page. He starts chewing on it. and he knows all the text forward and back. He knows every word where it's placed. And so instead of being under the covers struggling to read this chapter for his homework, he's now under the covers struggling to chew through the pages quick enough. And he goes in and he aces the test. He knows everything. It's like the questions aren't even questions anymore. We'll give ourselves just 20 more seconds here. And fingertips reach into the mat in front of us. We'll pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. From hands and knees tabletop, let's curl the toes, lift the seat, and find our way into yeah dog. And we'll walk our way forward into fold. Inhale into half lift. Get that nice neutral flat spine. Exhale your way back into fold. Slide the hands behind you here. Give yourself a little gentle compression so that the torso can get just a little closer to the thighs. Breathe here. And then let's shift our awareness to our sacrum and we'll roll our way up vertebrae by vertebrae. Coming back into mountain, bring your hands together, heart center. Really find that position of balance, that equilibrium of weight distribution, not just laterally, but to the anterior, posterior side of the body, to the toe mound, heel side of the body. And then we'll slide our left foot straight back into lunge. As you get into your lunge this time, think about the torso being neutral, but then wiggle that left foot back just a little bit more than it would normally be. And then ground your left heel and roll your way open into warrior two. All right, so we have this big, wide, expansive hip space. Transition that into big, wide, expansive shoulder space. Think about being neutral right down the middle of the body. And then let's just tilt this forward into a little side angle. Good full lateral line length. Breathe into this shape. And then we'll bring ourselves back up into warrior two. Settle right in the middle of that space. Left heel spins up, we'll find crescent. Hands drop to heart center, and we'll just delicately step to mountain. Find that 4D balance once again, right? Left, right, laterally, forward, backward. We're balanced, we're at ease. And then we'll slide our right foot straight back into lunge. We set up our lunge position first, and then we wiggle that right foot back just a little bit more. Ground the right heel and roll into this warrior two. Wide hip expanse, wide shoulder expanse. We want to feel this width here. And then we're just transitioning, just tilting our way right into this side angle. And breathing down that lateral line. And then we'll bring our way back into two. Settle into that two once again. Right heel spins up. Arms sweep to crescent. Hands drop to heart center, and then we step forward. Oh. For that balance mountain. Drop the hands behind you and interlace the fingers if that is accessible to you. If not, we're just going to the glutes. We're going to push the hands down no matter where we are. And then we're going to see if we can peel those arms away without tilting the torso. It's just arms peel away. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And interlace the fingers overhead here. And then we'll just see if we can turn the palms away from us overhead. So just getting this big, long, linear line. Release the hands back to heart center. And we'll sweep the arms behind us one more time. Push the thumbs down or push the hands down. See if you can peel those arms away from you. No change in the torso position. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Interlace the fingers and see if it feels accessible to turn the palms away from you and aim those towards the ceiling or sky. Exhale, release the finger grip, drop into forward fold. Feel the middle of the back let go as you get into the bottom of this fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Clench your hands. We'll walk our way back into down dog. Come down to hands and knees. Tabletop. Flip the tops of the feet and sink our way back into child's pose. As you drop into that child's pose, once again, checking with that heart rate, your circulatory rate, checking with your respiration rate, and dialing those back down towards the homeostasis, just getting relaxed, gentle breath here. Give yourself just 20 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate for you. Let's pull ourselves forward to hands and knees, tabletop. Sweep the legs out in front of us into staff. And as those legs extend into staff, we'll follow them forward into a nice little seated, traditional seated forward fold. Remember that the knees can bend here. I'd say ideally we are looking to impact the spine here. So the knees bending may be necessary. If you're feeling this exclusively in the hamstrings, just bend the knees, allow for a little more space, and allow the back to get involved. And let's just give ourselves 20 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate, we'll walk ourselves back up into a seat, to a staff, and let's lower ourselves onto our spine. Coming back onto our spine here, from where we started class. Take note of what feels different. Take note of what has changed, what hasn't changed. And feel that. Give yourself just another breath cycle or two to really feel your body against the mat. And then let's pull both thighs in towards the torso. Give yourself a nice little squeeze here. And then see if it's possible for you to let the arms come out towards cactus or T and keep the thighs in that compressed space. And then with an exhale and a core engagement with the exhale, right? So exhale helps us engage the core. So we're exhaling, we're going to extend the right leg so that it can hover. And then inhale, we'll retract. Exhale, we'll extend the left leg. And inhale, we'll retract. Let's just work back and forth through these. So exhales, extending, alternating legs, and inhales, contracting. You want to make sure that the lumbar spine is staying neutral. The glutes have enough engagement to help protect the lumbar, and the core is engaged enough to help maintain that flat neutrality. Let's do one more to each side or until you feel balanced. And then we'll release the feet down to the mat. And once again, just check in that you're getting this full neutrality in the spine. And then let's allow for a little lateral sway. Knees start to rock side to side. You feel that rotation of the hips, that rotation of the lumbar. And we want to feel the structure of the spine and the hips and how they're moving and how they're integrating. If there's any catchiness to them, how can we smooth that out? Again, maybe one more time in each direction or until you feel balanced. And then we're all going to meet with our knees over to the left side in a nice little static twist. We won't spend a ton of time here, but enough to settle in and feel this. And so from that day forward, any information that this boy consumed, he literally consumed. He ate it. And once he did, it was ingrained within him, not in the way that someone might know the generalness of something they read. He knew every letter. If you asked him the 10,000th letter in the Odyssey, he could tell you what it is. And so he very quickly starts excelling in academia. His teachers start praising him. His friends, his family starts praising him. And he starts to consume more and more information, books. He starts to learn languages. He starts to learn mathematics, history, science, philosophy. When it feels appropriate for you, we'll bring our knees back to neutral, and then we'll let the knees fall over to the second side. Eventually, he knows every language, or at least every written language on the planet. He knows every moral code. He can quote philosophers that most people have never heard of. He becomes more and more well known and eventually becomes renowned for his knowledge worldwide. And truly worldwide, because he uniquely has the ability to speak perfectly in any dialect, any language, anywhere, to anyone. Remember how we treat our breath here so that our body can get more at ease. And when you feel balance left to right, bring our knees back to neutral. Let your spine reintegrate. Ask yourself if you might benefit from any last movements prior to Shavasana. And if you would, offer those to yourself now. If you have everything you want, if you have everything you need, if you're ready for some stillness, Or let's find our way into a shape where we can appreciate some stillness. Where you can be fully at ease. Eventually, this boy has grown up to the point where he's traveling the world. And he's doing these seminars where anyone can come ask him anything. And they do. They ask him anything from trivial, useless questions about which letter is the 13th thousandth in a book to deep philosophical questions. And no matter what he's asked, he pulls the information from the most relevant book he's consumed. Eventually finding your way all the way into your version of Shavasana. And so he's holding one of these seminars, been going on all day. People have asked all kinds of questions. This old man comes up to the microphone and he asks what he should do, how he can move on with his life because he just lost his wife. And this now middle-aged man pulls this quote out of this book about grief. And he recites it as eloquently as he's recited everything else. But the old man just stares back at him. And then eventually the old man kind of leans into the microphone and says, "That sounds like something that someone else has experienced." And the old man kind of drops his head and slowly walks away from the mic. We'll start to bring some movement to our fingers and our toes, into our wrists and our ankles. And this man who knew everything felt this little shift inside him because the old man was right. Movement into our wrists, elbows, ankles, knees, shoulders, neck, head, jaw, eyes, tongue, hips. Eventually, the whole body moves. And we use that movement to transition back into a seat. In the seated space, spine gets tall, breath gets fluid, eyes close. We'll inhale our hands together, heart center. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself that struggle is not what keeps us from wisdom? It's what gives wisdom the strength to stand up, and see how that impacts your experience. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening's practice and for being you. Namaste. Happy Monday, guys. Appreciate you being here. I'll be back on Sunday to recharge, and we'll do this again next Monday. Love the heck out of you. See you soon. Mwah.